Razorback Nation, welcome into this Wednesday's episode of Hogs on the Hill. Different day, same show due to Arkansas baseball getting its series kicked off tomorrow. But before we dive in, can't forget to thank our sponsors, Razor Pigs. Looking good never felt so fun, y'all. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, the tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Founded right here at home and run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. So go check them out. We've showed the hats a few times on here. Go check those out. Fantastic hats, fantastic polos, and go check them out today. And so before we jump over to the main portion of Arkansas baseball, we have some Arkansas basketball transfer portal action to talk about. We kind of talked about it on Sunday and hinted on it last week how, we kept waiting. Well, we finally got the news and portal pops we were waiting for. So yesterday, double portal pop as Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan both committed to Arkansas, and Coach Cal out of the transfer portal. Much needed help and depth in, Arkansas's 4 or 5 spots for those two guys coming in. It's going to be big time, especially if Trevor Brazil ends up coming back as well. That sets you up for a pretty good starting lineup between those 3 guys. And if you add a guy or 2 for depth, you'll be sitting in a pretty good spot. So, your guys' initial thoughts on those 2 big gets yesterday in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I like them both. And there's, I've heard some pushback about not much, just a couple guys that I know about, like they're coming from not very good teams. Well, if you look at who they were, what they did last year, they were kind of the stars of each team. With Ewan and then like Jameer Watkins, they were the only things that Florida State had. And then you look at Pringle, him and Charles, what's
Colin Murray?
Yeah, he's got 3 names. You know that guy. They're kind of the only thing that really gave South Carolina some oomph too. So I like both of them. Neither one of them's gonna be a stretch guy, so we won't have to hear about big guys taking threes anymore. I don't think Ewan's taken a shot from deep in his entire career. So that's gonna be pretty fun. Now, here's what I think. I think Ewan is like a mix between Jonas Adu and what's that guy's name? He played for Muss. He came from Arizona State. Oh my gosh, what is his name?
I'm trying to think of it too.
Jalen Graham.
Yes, I feel like he's a mix between those two. Defensively, I feel like he's a little better than Jalen Graham. A lot better. Definitely good at getting rebounds. I don't know if you've seen his like offensive rebound numbers, but they're through the roof. And then I feel like he's just a little bit more agile under the rim than Adu was this year. Now, I think Adu was probably that at Tennessee, but with the injury and the late start and everything, he didn't really live up to his potential. So I think that is a like 10 out of 10 get. Pringle, I feel like he can, offer some minutes probably off the bench and then gets you some rebounds and then maybe once or twice pop off scoring wise. But I think that's a good, third guy to have in that rotation.
I try to forget about the first game against South Carolina, but who's the one that scored all the points against us?
Colin Murray.
Boy. Yeah.
Did Pringle do anything in those games?
Yeah, he scored like 18 the first one and then nothing in the second game.
Okay.
Yeah, so against Arkansas the first time, Pringle scored. He played 23 minutes, scored 18 points, was 7-11 from the field, hit 4 or 5 from the free throw line, so shooting 80%, had 9 rebounds. So almost a double-double against Arkansas.
Yeah, I think Kyle watched that game and said, okay, hold up a minute. But, like you said, just patience. And here we are. We're already almost there with a complete roster. We just got a few more pieces, and we'll be ready to roll.
100%. Yeah. So, and that's the thing about, looking at Nick Pringle too. He brings you good veteran experience because, played at South Carolina in the SEC. Prior to that, played at Alabama in the SEC for Nate Oates. So, he brings.
Went to the Final Four with Nate Oates.
And so brings great veteran experience and can kind of probably mentor some of these young kids. This season, doesn't blow you away with his numbers, 9.5 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game. But if he can get in there and kind of be that guy, kind of compared to Big Z, that's not going to get pushed around a lot. And he'll be able to hold his own in the SEC. He's built more for that style of play. So, like Austin said, come in, give you some minutes. More than likely, he'll be playing behind Brazil, or if you're kind of going a little bit smaller lineup or for some foul trouble, he could play the 5 and you have Brazil playing the 4, whatever. But can come in and give you some much needed rebounding, and that was really lacking for the most of the year from Big Z. Big Z turned it on a little bit towards the end, but as a whole, kind of left some on the table that you wish you would have had back. And then on the other side of that, with Malik Ewan, I think this is the big one for Arkansas. You're getting you knew kind of what you were getting with Jonas Adu from Tennessee. He kind of reached his peak, if you will. I think maybe Malik Ewan still has some development he can do because, he didn't play last year due to injury. And then this previous season, really showed out for Florida State. And, previous to that, he's a guy that also has SEC experience and was at Ole Miss at one point as well. So he's a guy, 6'11", 230. I would say he's probably listed more than 230 based on his frame and how he looks, but a guy that averaged 14.2 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 1.7 assists per game and shot 59.6% from the field. So a big man that has great passing ability out of the post. So, that's one thing, if he's doubled anything, he's going to be able to kick it out for, hopefully one of these guys that's coming back, or a shot maker that if we, kind of attack that route in the transfer portal. So, in between Ole Miss and Florida State, he had to stop at USF as well. But, this is much needed and a big addition for this Arkansas squad. After you lose the Duthero to the NBA draft, Big Z transfers, Jonas Adu loses out of eligibility. So, your 4 and 5 spots are really decimated after, the season. And so these are going to be 2 big key additions. I wouldn't be surprised to see us maybe go after another big that is okay and comes in knowing that they're not going to play a ton of minutes, but kind of a situation if you maybe have an injury or get in foul trouble that that they're going to see some playing time as well. We have already known that Coach Cal's established that this is going to be a deeper roster next year, not trying this 9-man, 8-man rotation stuff again, that it just did not work. You live and you learn, but this year, Coach Cal's going to go out and build a roster. And, this is a great start to what we hope to be all the guys returning that we think they are.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think that Ewan's going to have the season that he did last year. Whenever you have a team that's that bad and you only have a couple guys that can actually score a bucket, you're going to be – I feel like he's going to be a little bit overinflated offense-wise. Now, that's not saying I don't think he can get, 8 or 9 a game, but I'm really looking for that rebounding, right? That's what we struggled with this year. We had all the length in the world. We had all the size. We couldn't get rebounds to save our life. And offensive rebounds, especially, we couldn't or defending offensive rebounds. So it was not a good deal. Now, like what you said, going forward, there's probably, I think, 3 open spots left. You got to think maybe a mint still. I'm not sure because, there's nothing coming out about it. And at this point, I'm just almost like, let's just move on, go get some other people who want to be here. Let him go to Duke and be the third or fourth guy. Just whatever. But if we go out and get 3 more guys, I see maybe some just rotation guys. I'm hoping they get at least one shooter, like one guy who is proven, who can hit over 40 from the 3-point line. If they do that, I'm going to feel good. Like, do that and then get like a 3-4 for the next 2 spots and just make sure they know how to rebound. I think this is a really good team going forward.
Well, I think Acuff and Malik Thomas are going to be a lot better shooters than we had at the guard position this past year. So that's going to help, number one. And also, that kind of goes hand in hand with the offensive rebounding. Yeah, offensive rebounding, you need to box out and get the ball too. But when you're shooting the ball so bad and it's clanking off the rim and going another unexpectedly another way, it's just it's hard to do anything with that. So, yeah, I think we definitely need a shooter, like you said. That's a big thing, because we got to be able to score. We got to be able to shoot the ball. We had too many times last year. You talked about offensive rebounding, but we had too many times where we just couldn't score the ball for long periods of time. So we need a guy that can make a shot when we need one.
Yeah. So a couple of those guys out there that, Arkansas could still be in or out on when we're talking about these other few needs in the transfer portal. There's still the possibility of Ian Jackson, a guy that last year 5-star that, was really in with Kentucky and Coach Cal. And then Coach Cal comes to Arkansas, and then ultimately he commits to North Carolina, and now he's in the transfer portal. His supposed top 5 looks like it could be Arkansas, USC, St. John's, and NC State. That one's interesting because he hasn't come on a visit to Arkansas. He's visited St. John's, he's visited USC, but nothing for Arkansas yet. Another one is, potentially Watkins from Florida State, Ewan's teammate. He's another one out there that potentially could be. He's going through the draft process, but could potentially, if he depend on his grade, come back and be teammates with Ewan again. He's another big scoring guard that can get to the rim and get you a bucket when needed. But as it stands, you're looking at your roster right now of Malik Thomas, Darius Acuff, Isaiah Sealy, Carter Knox, Billy Richmond, DJ, Malik Ewan, Brazil, and Pringle. That's where it sits right now. And Jaden Carguillueta, as far as we know. So you're looking at that roster, and you've got a lot of size on it. You also can't forget about the overseas guy, Artel, that's coming over as well. So he's 6'9", can play, that 4-3 spot, depending on, the EuroLeague type guys. They're full of big men that like to shoot and shoot from outside as well. So, but I mean, you've got a roster with a ton of size. Your smallest guy being DJ Wagner at 6'2". Like, the factor of you're going to be a decently sized team going all the way up to 6'10", 6'11" between Pringle and Ewan.
Yeah, they're going to be big again, and they're going to be athletic again. I mean, on paper, it's definitely right now, without those other, spots filled, it's probably a top 10 roster on paper. Now, whether or not they can get the new guys blended in with everybody else, and here's the thing, their retention, if they end up keeping all of the guys that they're supposed to, that's gonna be really, really helpful going forward, because they've already gone through that process of trying to, build up that culture and get everything right, and they can be the leaders going forward. Plus, you've got a lot of experience coming back with what's his name, Pringle and Ewan, which Ewan, here are their experience, but he's been out of high school for a while now. So that's going to be great. And then you got the uber talented guys like Thomas and Acuff. And you know what? the Sealy, I don't know why there's just not a lot of discussion about him because it's not like he's some scrub or anything. He's not a 3-star guy who barely made it here or is just coming here because it's hometown school. I mean, he's a 4-star guy who did pretty good at Springdale, right? He's from Springdale.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think the biggest thing with him
I don't
is
think
compared
I
to
everybody else, yeah. But like if you go down, like say Malik Thomas or well, he doesn't play 2. So whoever's playing the 3, like Billy Richmond and Carter Knox, for whatever foul out or whatever, I don't feel like super nervous about him coming in just because he's a bona fide guy too. It's not like he's a scrub. So hopefully that's another guy who's gonna like be retained and get a couple years under Cal.
Oh, no.
And you don't want to say that. A couple more years under Cal and grow into something a little more, kind of like what's his name, Duthero. I mean, like he was a 3-star guy coming out of high school, or he might have been a 4-star guy, but he wasn't like highly touted. He pretty much went to Kentucky because his dad played for Coach Cal, and he turned out to be this guy who averaged like 15 points a game, 6 rebounds, and is now probably going to go late second round. So I don't know. Like this roster is just looking super good, and I'm hoping that they can get this thing rolling earlier than they did this year.
Yeah.
Well, another part of getting it rolling earlier is, can we come into the season completely healthy? Can everybody on the roster?
Yeah, no riding in golf carts.
Right. Let's
doing that.
Don't even do anything. Go sit on the couch, play a video game. Let's just don't even go outside unless you're going to practice in school. So, no, but
like put them in a bubble.
Yeah, like for real. Like I mean, just like let's stay completely healthy, and see what this team can do, because I'd rather not be just excuse me, like a 10 seed in the tournament, because I think if we had a easier walk, just like who was the team that just had a cakewalk? Duke. They didn't play nobody until they actually played somebody, which was the Final Four. So I'd love to have more of a cakewalk in the NCAA tournament. So let's play a little bit better and not have a 0-5 start in the SEC. But a lot of it had to do with injury, and guys had to gel. But a lot of second-year guys coming back, so gelling may happen a lot sooner than we think.
And I think that would be key too. Is like if it's like I said, this is all assumption at this point is, but if you have everybody back, DJ, Billy, Carter, Brazil, that's a great core 4 guys. They can come in here and already be gelled together. They played together for a year already. They can acclimate these new guys in pretty quickly. And, this offseason will hopefully be more fluid, more nice, and flow better than, what last season was, where Cal comes in. He has to recruit up basically an entire team. And then, they're not even fully practicing when the season starts due to injury. So between health and, that gelling ability of the guys returning is going to be big. But to us, what Austin was saying earlier with Isaiah Sealy, I think, with him, he's maybe not as highly touted as some of the other guys, is because he didn't necessarily go the pay-to-play route, as I will call it, because he didn't go and it wasn't on the EYBL circuit or the Nike circuit or any of these big of, outside of your school basketball,
the AAU
leagues, all the AAU stuff. Like he played for Springdale High, and other than that, I don't know how much he played outside of like his high school ball. And I think that shows you how good he is because he was still highly rated, yet he wasn't going to the EYBL, the AAU games, the Nike games, like all these different things that some of these other highly touted guys are. But to Austin's point, I also think he could be one of those guys that's very similar to Duthero, where he's going to be a 2 to 3 year player for Arkansas and Cal. more than likely, unless he kind of just explodes onto the scene and like just takes everybody by surprise. But I think that's what you're going to get out of him, because if you remember what Cal said about Adeuthero was that, and I think part of this is coming from, the documentary from Vice, was that he was talking about how, Thero's dad, who played for Cal, was like, "Hey, take a look at my son," and he kept telling him, "Well, he's not big enough. He's too short. He's only, this size." And every year that he would come to Cal's basketball camp at Kentucky, and his dad would talk to Cal, and it just Cal's like, he's got to get bigger, and finally, he gets on the Kentucky roster, and out of nowhere, he grows and gets much bigger and goes to that 3-4 spot while still having the ability and the skills of a point guard, which is what he initially came in as due to his size. And so a guy that kind of really wasn't highly touted came in, had the growth spurt, and then Cal was like, okay. And then really 2 years ago under Cal at Kentucky, broke out and had a big season. And then this year, of course, until his injury, was the leading scorer for Arkansas and kind of positioned himself for a future in the league.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone wants to talk about how he can't coach. And I'm just saying that kind of proves it, right? Not only this year, but just look at Thero by himself. Came in not like highly regarded. He was barely a 4-star. And now he's probably going to be drafted. It's just the development that you see under these guys. He's just like, he puts that many people in the league for a reason. It's not because he can't coach. Now he might not be like X's and O's guys, but he knows how to get you to where you need to go. And he knows how to get people who are extremely talented here. Now I wish that there were a little bit more, good inbound plays. let's just be honest. The inbound plays just aren't good. They haven't really been good for a long time, but it's just I don't. It's not like I don't trust him though, because he's got these guys who come in who are highly touted, the ones that already know kind of what they're doing because they've been under like high quality coaches their entire lives. And they know the game of basketball. It's not like they're not high IQ guys. So I think more or less it's just like getting people to gel and kind of letting them go and play their game. And that's pretty much what they do in the NBA. I mean, you got guys like LeBron James who just take over games whenever he wants, or Luka, or Jokic. And it's just getting Giannis. Yeah, you just all the European guys. Just let them do what they want to, do what they do and grow that way and learn that way. And, it's kind of just the byproduct that you have a good team because you do that. So I wish there were a little bit more X's and O's, but if you're a recruit and you want to go to the league, I don't know why you wouldn't want to come play for Cal.
Yeah, that whole he can't coach nonsense, man, that just comes from an angry ex-girlfriend, Kentucky. Because somebody that started 0-5 in the SEC conference and then led their team to the NCAA tournament, not only that, but to knock off 2 Hall of Fame coaches in Bill Self and Rick Pitino. And a guy can't coach? Come on now. Let's stop all that nonsense.
Yeah.
Coming into high school, into college, 6'5", 180. So he was like the size of Billy Richmond, but much skinnier. And he's like 220, 230, 6'8" now. So
right,
I mean,
exactly.
Big
so there
difference.
you go.
Speaking of Billy Richmond, Austin, you answer this for me, and Caleb, you can answer it too. Who are you most excited for year 2? You can't really say Brazil year 2, but Richmond, is it DJ or is it Carter Knox? Who is it?
I think for me, I would have to go Carter Knox because I think he could be a guy with his size, and you saw him starting to play with that aggression and use his size down the stretch this year, that could come in and be a Adeuthero type player and kind of wreak havoc on the SEC. You know, he's going to have another offseason to go through with a weight program, the nutrition program, bulk up, refine, his body and refine his game. And not to mention probably improve his shooting, but down the stretch could step out and hit a three. But also, if you're going to get up on him on the outside, you better be prepared for him to drive to the basket and attack the rim with everything that, he is. And so I think a year or two, Carter Knox making that sophomore year jump could be scary for the rest of the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go the opposite. I'm going to say Billy Richmond, but mostly because from where he was last year to where I think his ceiling is much bigger than what Carter Knox was. I think Carter Knox was more polished and just a little bit better of a player last year. But I think they could probably be about the same. So I'm excited to see how much of a jump that Billy actually makes in the second year, because he could, like you were saying, make a huge jump. And maybe if they become like even where they're playing about at the same level, then that's just going to be super fascinating to see how Billy actually goes from point A to point B.
Yeah, and for me, it's Knox, just like Caleb, and for reasons just like you said, I think the 3-point shooting that he has is a lot better than people give him credit for. I mean, this is a guy that they couldn't miss against Texas Tech, and I wish we would have gave him the ball more. But I don't really hang on to losses like that. Like most people do. I move on and get over it because I'm a baseball guy, and you have to do that in the sport of baseball. And I probably had the most devastating loss anybody can have as a fan in that World Series championship game. So you just got to move on. But yeah, Knox definitely just the way that he played in the second half compared to where he was really non-existent in the first part of the year. Just the way that he played, and most impressive is 3-point shooting, because you're going to have to shoot the ball from three better than you did last year as a team.
100%. And I think that all falls into you're going to have better shooters. Carter Knox should improve. Acuff and Thomas are going to come in, I think, going to be a little bit better shooters than, like you guys said, better than maybe what we think they can be and what we had last year. And then not to mention, if you can kind of get into the season in Brazil for a full season too, and kind of what you saw pre-injury as well, he can get outside and stroke it as well. So it's, this lineup has the potential to be deadly. I mean, we talked about that last year, kind of preseason with, you've got Nelly Davis and, this guy. Well, I think that could actually really be true. And so I think that's going to be big time. So it's going to be fun to see what happens, see who else Arkansas goes after. I'll be interested to see, do they go all in on trying to get Nate Amet? Do they go after somebody else? Is it somebody that we're not even thinking about? Or is it, Cal working his way in the shadows or behind the scenes, kind of like that has been going on? So it's going to be fun to see. I think the portal's open for another 6 days, I believe. So, you've got 6 days to see what Cal's going to do as far as the transfer portal. Or is he going to kind of go the freshman route with Amet? So that's going to be interesting to see. We'll keep you guys up to date as we get more information on that. We'll jump over. Arkansas football has themselves a spring game Saturday, pending weather. We'll have to see. That's the same case with baseball. But we'll see what happens. But tentatively, spring game, 1 o'clock on Saturday. And it's going to be a fun one. But we'll just show here the Arkansas football account decided to release some images here of what is going to be worn on Saturday. So your reds, your whites, and the black that we love that the quarterbacks will be wearing. But I think the thing to focus on is you've got that nice white helmet in the top right corner. I'm talking pre-show. Austin's not the biggest fan of it, but I think me and Hobbs are on team on this white helmet would be a nice one to wear, especially because you've got the the Razorback outlined in black instead of red. I think that's a big difference
Yeah.
from when we've worn this helmet in the
Yeah.
past. But this, to Austin's point, what he was saying beforehand was, if you pair that white helmet with that black jersey in the middle and black pants, you've got yourself one nice black uniform for a blackout game. Arkansas's done red outs. Arkansas's done white outs. Let's get a blackout.
Yeah. No, here's the thing, too. They wore that same jersey last year, and people were talking, oh, we might be getting a blackout. And then nothing happened. I'm like, you can't put – like it's got the freaking SEC insignia on it, and you just put it out there for everybody, and then you don't even play in a blackout game? Like, what the heck? Man, I was a little bit ticked off that we didn't get to see it last year. So I'm hoping that we get to see it this year.
And if Arkansas can have a nice night game as well, break it out for a night game.
Yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of comments on X. Hey, can we please wear those black unis against Notre Dame?
No.
I don't know if that combination works good against Notre Dame, but it's
I don't want to get embarrassed.
Yeah,
in the black.
No, we're not going to get embarrassed by Notre Dame. I can promise you that. We'll talk about that when we get closer to the season. I'm not scared of Notre Dame in any sport, but anyway, those uniforms look good. If we're going to go all black like that, we got to have a little bit of red in the uniform somewhere. I don't see
That's
any
true.
red in the uniform, so. But yeah, it's interesting. I do like. I've always liked the white helmets. I think they look good with any combination. I'm not a fan of wearing them all the time, but to break them out every now and then is always good. So
hey, just let the players wear those black unis and throw on some red accessories, some red cleats, some red undershirts, some armbands, whatever you call it. Accessorize
something
with the red.
right?
Yeah.
Works for me.
But, with that being said, spring game tentatively for Saturday, part of the Woo Pig weekend that the university is doing. So it's going to be
the Woo
fun.
Thunderstorm weekend.
What'd you say?
The Woo Thunderstorm weekend.
Exactly. Woo Thunderstorm weekend. So we'll have to see how that turns out. But, we didn't have you on here on Sunday due to you being sick, Austin, but glad you're feeling better. But what's your thoughts? Hobbs and I talked about it. What's your thoughts on the whole Nico situation with Tennessee? Just your initial thoughts. We kind of talked about this a little bit on Sunday, but what's your perspective on that? And do you kind of agree with the stance that Tennessee took on that?
Yeah, I do. And the thing is, I have trouble blaming the NCAA like a lot of big time people are. They're like, well, make rules. I'm like, here's the thing. It's a free market. Like, you can make decisions. That was a stupid decision. Like you're leaving Tennessee when you're making like $2 million for not doing a whole lot. And I mean, they got Jalen Milroe to the league. Like, I think it's Jalen, right? Which one is it that?
Oh no, Milroe is from
Jalen Milroe is Alabama.
I was wondering what you were talking about. Milton, he's got traded to the Cowboys. Yeah.
Yeah, like he got him to the league. You don't think you're going to get you to the league? And that's where you get a lot of money. And the thing is, there I go with the thing is, that's my my
put it on a poster.
Yeah, I know. But this is going to follow him for the rest of his career, right? Mm-hmm. Like whenever he goes to the league, he's going to be known as a guy who's hard to deal with, and he doesn't produce enough to make that worth it. So I feel his draft stock is just going to drop. I know they're going to probably still draft him based on his potential, but I mean, going to UCLA, playing in the Big Ten, where you're going to get smoked every single time, and that's where it came out today that he's probably going to go to UCLA, which is funny because we got Madden Imaliava from a late flip from UCLA, so that's a little weird.
Very weird. That's the whole problem of college sports right now.
And I'm not even gonna like blame him a whole lot. I know there's like this article that came out that the family is saying, oh well, it's, and I want to be careful because Madden's on the team and I don't want to like make him mad, but they're saying we didn't have anything to do with it. I'm like, you had to have. Like, there had to have been some kind of push to do something to go get some more money. And it's not because the offense sucks. Because it's a good offense. It's been a good offense forever under Heupel. So I don't know. These kids need to stop listening to their parents and their fake agents, because if you want to be honest with you, most of them aren't like legit agents. They're guys that are like, hey, I'll help you get some money. I'll do all the talking for you. Just know that a bigger check is coming. Right? Like, if you want to move for playing time, if you really want to move for playing time, that's fine. If you want to move for scheme, that's fine. But don't hold out like that, because you can't say it's not about money when you hold out. If it were about the scheme, you would have just left. You wouldn't have waited until right before the spring game and, jump ship. You would have left at the end of this year. So it's tough. And I don't want to blame him a whole lot, but you need to not be as impressionable, right? And I'm hoping Madden will look at this, because the talk that I hear from him, he's going to be good, right? If he can stay at Arkansas, he might do stuff with Arkansas, especially if Bobby Petrino can stay. But I hope he learns from this. Like, hey, not those extra cents you're going to get. I know it's like 1.2 or $2 million that he was wanting more, but that pales in comparison to what you're going to make in the league. And you don't want to hurt that chance by doing something stupid in college.
Right.
So
that's a bad rap.
Yeah. And I hate that, because I like Nico. I think that he has the skills to be very good. I just didn't think he was getting the offense like he should. And I really don't think they had any really good receivers last year either. So, but they got to the playoffs. I mean, it's not like they were a bad team. Mm-hmm. They had stuff they were working on this year. It doesn't make any sense why he would do that unless it was for money. And if it was for money, I think it was a very, very stupid decision.
I agree. I also, after all this was coming out, there's also an article that came out too. I don't know if you guys saw it, where they're talking about how him and maybe a couple other players before their college playoff games were even threatening to hold out then because they wanted more money before the playoff games.
Yeah, we got to stop that. If that's the case, we got to shut it all down.
And I think that's like we talked about too. I think you're trending towards having to go the route of contracts. And part of that being a full season includes any postseason appearances. Not, your postseason is your scheduled regular games and then anything extra. It doesn't work like that. I mean,
here's my thing. The saying blank or get off the pot. That's what they need to do. The NCAA. They either need to they can't find a way to not use NIL, because that came from the Supreme Court. That is the law of the land, right? So I feel like they just need to do that. Go to contracts, and like, if you have Nico, if he wants to leave, then I feel like other schools have to buy them out, right? If you want this where they're making money, you've got to protect the schools too, because not only is that going to maybe keep them from pulling stunts like this all the time, but it's going to reimburse those schools for that loss and give them a little bit more leverage, because right now players have all the leverage. Schools don't have any leverage whatsoever. Well, you don't want to pay me this? I can go somewhere else. I got all this potential. I can go to California where they pay me $4 million a year. It's no big deal. It's whatever. But whenever you do that, and then UCLA has to pay Tennessee, it's a bit different, So it's either do this or don't do it at all. I don't like this middle ground.
It's all me. Yeah. If it's me, go play golf, go play tennis. play a sport that you're by yourself. You're playing a team sport. I mean, even as a quarterback, you got 10 other guys on the field with you. You got 5 guys blocking for you. You got guys that got to get open for you. It's just too much me crap. And I talked to Caleb about this too, where you got a guy asking for $4 million, and you've got probably an offensive lineman starting for you that's not getting paid maybe $100,000. This guy's blocking for you. This is going to cause way more issues than just an issue for that certain player. Guys are not going to respect guys. It's going to cause fights in the locker room. And these are kids. These aren't grown adults. These are kids that ain't fully mature. They're going to have an issue with each other. This is just a slippery slope, and this is the whole reason Nick Saban said this would happen. This is the whole reason he got out of college football. He could still be coaching today if it wasn't for all this nonsense. He can
come back to Arkansas anytime he wants. Just saying.
Hey, that would be awesome. But but this is
be right at home. It's red as A. He won't. We'll just say, hey, just think of it as Alabama. He'd be all right.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I'm right there with you. And then you got Colorado retiring Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter numbers. Like, come on, man. What are we doing?
And then you had USC retired.
I get Travis Hunter, right? I get that one, but Shedeur Sanders, I don't really get.
Yeah,
I don't like. I think he's a mid quarterback that has a famous daddy, and he's okay, but I don't know. Like, I like Travis Hunter.
I think Hunter robbed somebody else from winning the Heisman.
Well, that's true too.
So,
hey, I don't know. That one's really tough for me because I think it's incredibly impressive that he played both sides like that many steps. But
if he does in the NFL, then I'm impressed. But doing it in Colorado, I'm not impressed.
And then Genty, but he's just an incredible running back. I mean, like, one of the best running backs we've ever seen. So I feel like he got robbed too a little bit, but if he did get robbed, at least he's not getting robbed by Troy, whatever the dude's name from Ohio State was for
Troy Smith.
Troy Smith. At least he's not getting robbed by Troy Smith.
So nobody.
Yeah.
Went on to do nothing in the NFL.
I couldn't even remember his name, and it's the most generic name.
Still rushed for a lot of yards. So yeah.
Exactly. But kind of bringing it full circle, like we were saying, though, the whole Nico situation. I think for me, the biggest thing that I like that what Heupel said, and I think that should go for any team, any sport, any university program, was he was like, no one player is bigger than this team and this program and this university. And he used the phrase of the T here at the university. And I think that's a great way to look at it. No one person's bigger than the program, bigger than university, bigger than the team. It's a team sport, like Hobbs was saying. You can't say that, I won us all these games. What about those receivers getting open for you, those guys blocking for you, those running backs that are making plays when you hand them the ball, the defense that works their butt off to keep the other team from scoring and get you the ball back? So, like, it all goes back to that point is, like, no one player is bigger than university and the program that they play for.
Yeah. And I'm not for kids not getting paid. I mean, it's been like that forever. Might as well get it out in the open. But there has to be rules and regulations, right? They have to give schools a little bit of a leg up because, right, like I said earlier, they don't have anything. They don't have leverage whatsoever.
And you're right. But me and you and Caleb, we get paid from our jobs, but we can't just leave work tomorrow without a 2 weeks notice or whatnot, and then not hurt a resume. So,
right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, crazy stuff going on in college football. Hopefully this kind of opens some eyes. I know it definitely sets a precedent, and so we'll see what happens going forward. Definitely decisions need to be made, but it makes it a little tough with, the NCAA trying to do something, but also different states having different rules and regulations and policies that apply. So, hopefully they can come up.
Dang federalism.
hopefully they can come to some type of solution that can prevent some of this stuff from happening in the future. But with that being said, we'll jump over to some Arkansas baseball talk. It is Arkansas comes home for a big time series, time to bounce back after a big weekend in Georgia where it was a interesting weekend. We talked about it on Sunday. Hated we didn't get the series win, but time to bounce back. And before we talk about that, Arkansas had themselves a midweek game this week where they got the job done against UAPB, 13-3. Quote unquote walked it off in the ninth. Or the eighth. I say that because it wasn't necessarily walking it off in the sense of you didn't hit a home run and just walk off things. You put a ball in play and scored a guy. Great job, Reese Robinette. Glad to see him get some action. But Arkansas gets the job done. Tate McGuire gets the start. He's been the guy that we've seen the last few weeks get those midweek starts. 3 innings for him, 4 hits, 3 runs. 5 strikeouts on 50 pitches. Colin Fisher comes in for 2 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout on 27 pitches. Will McIntyre comes out, has a fantastic outing, 2 innings, 3 strikeouts on 29 pitches, and then Steele Eves for the final inning, getting 1 strikeout on 10 pitches.
Yeah, like you talked about Robinette hitting that walk-off, man. Look, if there's a team that I really want, obviously I want any team to win. Arkansas baseball wise, if there's a team that I want to succeed in the postseason really badly, it's this one, because you could see like how much they're rooting for everybody else on the team. When a guy comes in and gets a chance to play because of injury, and have at bats in a game, and then he goes 3 for 4, hits a walk off that scores another guy that's struggling at the plate, and Kendall Diggs. That's just a beautiful thing to see. Like the way they celebrated with him, it just shows that the whole team. I mean, you saw Ryder Helfer, you saw Zach Root, you saw all the main guys and the main leaders on the team out there, just like so happy for the guy. But Dave Van Horn even mentioned like he's a good teammate. Talking about Reese Robinette, great teammate, and the guys are just rooting for him. And this whole boils down to what we were just talking about excuse me, about being a team. That's just a beautiful thing to see. So, I mean, I'll get emotional talking about it, but that's the beauty in the sport, man. You can't. That's the beautiful thing about baseball is seeing stuff like that. Yeah, I know it's UAPB, but that moment and that emotion showed there. It just makes you root for this team more and more.
Yeah, and I liked whenever like he was going towards second, and the Diggs scored, and like he turned around and he was shocked to see that entire dugout coming running out,
just running after him. Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's just a great moment." And like you said, like this was a nobody team. This was a game that meant absolutely nothing, but to Big Country, it meant something, That hit, like, if he doesn't play another game for the rest of his time here, he's going to tell his grandchildren about that hit, right? And it's just you can't help but be, sentimental or romantic about baseball or sports in general. I do that with football all the time. I know you over here, getting a tear in your eye, but I mean, like, if Arkansas wins a national championship in football, I'm gonna cry like a baby. Like I'm hoping my wife isn't there to film me because she'll put it on the internet. But I will cry like a baby most likely. And that just kind of gets to the point of like what sports actually mean, other than it just being a game, right? There's so much sentimental stuff that comes with it, and you just saw it yesterday against UAPB. And can I just say, like, how little those dudes looked compared to Arkansas? I'm like, I forgot. I don't remember which one was pitching, but it was like 5th inning. He was the one with like the hair down about right here. And then Reese Robinette goes up to bat, and I'm like, that dude would eat him for breakfast. Like, geez, Louise, that dude's little. And
Well,
then
to be fair,
Big
Reese
Country
Robinette
is
has
massive.
the nickname of Big Country for a reason because he's a big
Right.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big. So no, it was a good game. Good bounce back game after and I wasn't here to talk about Georgia, and I actually got to watch every single game. Even the one they won. So I know it wasn't my fault that they lost. But just like in the second game to battle back, get within one, they had a guy on third with one out left, and they just couldn't get it in.
Mhm.
It's hard to go into a weekend and outrun guys by 8 runs over the weekend and still lose the series. But that's what baseball is. You got to perform every single game. So
Yeah.
Going out there and having fun like this, I think it was a great bounce back game to go into this series against Texas A&M, who is getting hot all of a sudden, obviously, because they're going against Arkansas this week. They're starting to get hot.
Yeah. Before we continue here, real quick, I have to give a quick shout out to my little buddy Clark that's watching. He's a guy that getting into the baseball game himself and some t-ball, but he's tuning in to watch some of this. So, quick shout out to you there, Clark. So, I'm glad you got to tune in. So, jumping on the offensive side of things before we jump on to previewing this big weekend series. You saw some interesting changes in the lineup this weekend or for last night's game. The biggest one, Keo Aloy plays right field, not DHing. He's playing right field. And that was a big one. You saw Maxwell take over that DH spot. Not sure if that has to do with maybe some of that hamstring tightness or whatever. So it's going to be interesting. It was interesting to see that swap there. Reese Robinette, of course, at first base. You saw Cam Kozel jump over to second base and some changes. But, all these guys played well. Big Country, Reese Robinette going 3 for 5 with an RBI and a run scored. Talk about making the best out of your opportunities that you get. He's a guy that a few years ago saw him flash some potential with some home runs down in LSU. Had some injury issues last year, but a guy that if he can get his bat going, great first baseman. And then, Vahiva Loy, 3 for 5, hits a home run, scores 2 run and RBI. Kahio, 4 of 5, scores 3 runs, 4 RBIs as well, hits a home run. The number, I think they showed it on screen. I think Kahio and Vahiva both have hit home runs in the same game. I think it's like 4 or 5 different times this season. It's insane how kind of they feed off of each other and that energy. But, these guys continue to do their thing. 2 of 4 for Cam Kozel, 3 RBIs for him, run scored. Zane Becker, 1 for 3, run scored, 2 RBIs. He hits himself a home run. Some of these guys maximizing their playing time for sure.
Yeah, Kihio, he's actually been working out in right field since January. So this isn't like it's his first game in right field, but this ain't something that Dave Van Horn woke up and said, you know what, let's put you in right field tonight. They've been working on this just for maybe future for next year. But and also Maxwell to keep him in the lineup, but to give him some at-bats and not have to really test that hamstring much. So that's why you saw that change there. You probably won't see that in SEC play. You probably see Maxwell out there. But, yeah, it was good to see Kihio, man. He's getting back hot again, which is great. Lloyd brothers were really hot against Georgia this past weekend. They were great in this past Tuesday game. The problem was the rest of the lineup wasn't as great besides Helfrich and Frazier. So we really need that's the only thing. We have some guys are great one weekend while the other guys are struggling. If we can get at least 6 or 7 of those guys going at once against a great team like Texas A&M or Tennessee or Texas, we're going to win a series, no problem. Because I really thought we pitched well. because Georgia's the best offensive team we're going to play all year, period. They're the best offensive team in the country. They lead the nation in home runs. It's not even close. So, it's just very, very good to see Robinette. Can't speak highly enough about him, but probably won't see him in SEC play, maybe as a defensive replacement or something, maybe a pinch hit scenario. Right now, we still have 4 midweek games left. You'll probably see him some more in the lineup. He just deservedly so. But then Frazier, Dave Van Horn said Frazier had a little bit of tightness in his left leg, left calf, and he was just giving him a rest, so he'll be ready for Thursday, tomorrow night. He said he should be in the lineup tomorrow night, which it'll be good to see him play live.
Yeah, I think that's big too. You know, he's coming off a weekend where he's probably played a lot more than what he's used to playing, especially in a full weekend. So, get him some rest, get him ready for tomorrow. But kind of as we go into thinking about this A&M series, the big news came out today. You know, we saw Dave hint at it last week. Well, you finally have that tweak to the pitching rotation for this weekend, as Root and Bottle Cheese are still staying the same. And like Hobbs is pointing here, you've got Gage Wood making his return to the starting lineup after, getting hurt down in Arlington. Finally making his return. Not sure what that's going to look like 100%. I feel like, David mentioned in him being potential in a pitch count. Not sure how high, how low that's going to be for him, but you've got Gage Wood kind of taking over that Saturday spot in between the two lefties. Geckel going to be coming out of the pen. Which day he comes out of the pen, that'll probably be determined partially by matchup, but also, what your pitching looks like for that day, because one of your key relievers, of course, is going to be Jimenez, that has done a phenomenal job so far this year. But it's going to be interesting to see the return of Gage Wood and how long he goes. Does he only go an inning, couple innings? Who knows? We'll have to see. And Dave may be playing it by how's he feel. Has he been ramping up these past few weeks in practice and things of that nature?
Yeah, I'm like, even with Geckel, not doing great, I am surprised that they put him back starting, even with the pitch count and everything like that. That kind of worries me a little bit, just because he's coming back after a while, and I really don't know how great the arm is right now. So I'm hoping that it doesn't really affect it all that much, and still, have that limited pitch count. But I don't know. I don't want to say it's all on Geckel, but because it feels like he's just not getting some calls sometimes. Like he's got stuff right there on the edge of the strike zone. He's just not getting them like everybody else is. So I don't know how you fix that, but at the same time, I feel like there needs to be some kind of change, because if he's not doing it, he's not doing it. You know what I'm saying? But what kind of, like, I know he's talented to do, but it kind of scares me with him coming back, starting anyway, not coming out of the pen. So I don't know.
Well, I don't think they would be starting him if he wasn't ready to go.
That's true.
And Dave's talked about it for several weeks now, about him throwing several bullpen sessions. So I think, and another thing is, you have to think about what Dave and Matt Hobbs like to do. They never want to go left, left, left. They want to go left, right, left, or right, left, right. Dave is huge on that. He even does his boom lineup that way. So when you think about the righties in the bullpen, you got Bobby, you got Jimenez. McGuire's really become a Tuesday guy. Who else am I trying to think of? Gackel, who's now moved to the bullpen, which we've seen what he's done in the starting rotation. Trying to think of the other writers we have. We have Dylan Carter, and we have Fouch and Wiggins. If I'm missing a righty, let me know. But that's who I can think of off the top of my head right now.
You mentioned McIntyre, right?
McIntyre. So McIntyre, who's kind of been only pitching in, excuse me, midweeks right now, which he was phenomenal last night.
And then, of
want to see
course,
him
the guy
more.
that started the midweek as well, Tate McGuire, as you guys
Tate
are right.
McGuire, yeah.
Right.
I really want to see McIntyre more on the weekends. I don't like having a guy that's as experienced as him just getting shut down after one bad outing. But when you think about the guys that we have, like main guys like that's been pitching lately, Bobby, Jimenez on the weekends, Fouch and Wiggins, those all 4 guys that I just named looked really good this past weekend. So I think part of it is, do you really want to take them out of their comfort zone right now that they've been used to coming in? So I think that's what the part of having Wood, hey, you may be on a pitch count. He hasn't mentioned a pitch count or what it would be, but we want to get you more. We want to just keep you as a starter so you know this is what you're going to be doing, because that's the plan going forward. Because he's earned that. Man, he's been around for 2 years, and then unfortunately he got hurt and against Michigan. So he's earned the ability to do this. So I'm just glad we're getting him back on the back end of the SEC schedule. So, but yeah, Texas A&M is not going to be an easy. This is not no easy task. This is a team that was preseason ranked number 1 for a reason. They've got the talent, just like Dave Van Horn mentioned it last night. They got the talent as good as anybody in the country. And even the guy that's pitching tomorrow night for them hasn't put up the numbers he did last year, but I mean, this guy is capable of shutting you down at any point. So this is a team that's very dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, and talking about, Wood, he's kind of a super small sample set, but what you've saw from the start of the season, I mean, if he comes out and gets back to that form, this could be a very nice rotation for Arkansas, because you look at his 2 appearances in the season, he has 13 strikeouts and 1 walk.
Yeah. Well, he's never been a guy that walks a lot of people. He's a strike thrower.
Yeah.
His problem in the past has been he throws too much of a strike. Like when I say a meatball,
leaves it hanging.
Destroy it. Yeah. So, but guys, it's just been stronger. So hopefully he's back to his normal ways that he was doing earlier in the year. And we also got some good news on Parker Cool. He's not going to be out as long as they thought he was, which is huge. Another guy, probably our best bullpen arm up to the stats-wise this year. So as long as we can stay healthy, we lost Souza. If we can just not have any more injuries, we'll be okay.
Exactly. So, yeah, like you're saying, going in this
wood, bro.
Yeah.
I did it for you.
You got it.
So, but you think about it going into this weekend, A&M's a team that they've won 6 straight games, coming in hot. Hopefully, we can cool them down. But what they've done here, this turnaround, hopefully, like we said, doesn't continue this weekend, but hasn't been short of impressive, especially if you look at last weekend. They came down from being down 10-0 in the 9th inning. They're talking about hitting 2 grand slams. That's where some of our late inning bullpen guys are going to come in key against guys like this, because they've got some guys that can hit. Of course, Jace Lavalette that's going to be a draft pick. That he's a great player. As much as it pains me to say that, and they've got a few other guys on their roster, and so that's going to be we know what you get. What you get out of Root and Bottle Cheese. Saturday, I think, is going to be a game you might put a star, quotation marks around, whatever you want, because that could be a key game that Wood starts and, what your bullpen does. Because if you can get the win on Friday with Root, Saturday could turn into a key game. Wood can come out and have a great game, and you could lock up the series right then. Or it could go the other way with what we've seen from Texas A&M these past few games that they've had. So I think that's going to be an important thing this weekend, is looking at that Saturday game and the change with Wood getting in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I don't want to say like last week was like incredibly impressive because it was against South Carolina, but I mean, anytime you put that many runs on somebody every single game, it's impressive. But I just feel like Texas A&M, they still aren't super good the first day. And I'm hoping that maybe putting this series on a Thursday will amplify that a little bit more, and we won't like have to worry about this a little bit, because like against Tennessee they lost 0-10, and then they came back and they destroyed them the next two games. Same with, they barely beat South Carolina on Friday last week. So I'm hoping that with it being Thursday, it throws off their rhythm a little bit more, and it makes it a little bit easier to, keep them from scoring in bunches like that. But their bats have just got incredibly hot. And I know our pitching staff is good, but it kind of worries me going back, how we played Georgia. I just hope the bats can keep up. I don't know I don't know. You said that their pitching has not like been super great this year, but obviously,
their pitching is good. Pitching has been good.
Okay. Well, they gave up. The only reason I'm saying this is because they gave up quite a bit to South Carolina and Tennessee, but still, I feel like if Arkansas can, especially like Charles Davalon, like he's been so good through this whole year, and then he just kind of lays an egg against Georgia. That sucked. And then like Koziel, he just kind of wasn't there. He was there in the first game, but next to it, I'm just hoping that they can find some sort of rhythm against Texas A&M, and then be able to keep them from getting hot like they have been the last few days or the last few weeks.
So you mentioned a couple guys. Davalon, I think he's still swinging a good bat. He's actually had some unfortunate luck. I mean, you look at some of the balls he hit last night; they barely missed.
On the warning track every time.
Right, every time almost. So, and Maxwell is the one that really, only had 2 hits against Georgia. I was not expecting that. He's got to come through. He can't be swinging at balls outside the zone again like that. That's uncharacteristic, and he's been around too long. And a career 300 hitter to do that. So I expect him to play better. Another guy that we've got to get going, and I've talked about this all year long, is the key to this team is Iredale. I don't know what's going on. Dave Van Horn said last night that he knows the strike zone very well, and they love that about him. But sometimes he knows the strike zone too well, and he lets pitches go by. And he said that he thinks that he's swinging too late on fastballs right now, and he may just be a little bit of a tick away from changing things around. But we've got to have him get going because we need him. And this is a guy that was hitting 400 just a month ago, and now he's under 300. So, very, very frustrating, and I know he's frustrated about it. But he's got good thing that he's going through this now and not in a regional. So he's got time to turn around.
Yeah, a guy that his bat's definitely be key down the stretch and late in the season and making a push. So, like you said, guys go through it. We saw it with Kehoe up, down, kind of getting back to a recession to the mean, if you will. And I think that may be what you're seeing with Iredale, and to like Dave's point about, he was hitting great earlier in the season, kind of dipped a little bit, and, hopefully he's getting back to a nice, middle ground there where he can provide some good timely hits and get back into rhythm. And that's going to be big. So it's going to be a fun series this weekend. Like we said, kind of with the spring game, be on alert to potentially playing 2 games on Friday, because that's looking like what we're trending towards, with a weather forecast on Saturday with 90% chance of rain all day. So we might not have that announcement until tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow after the game. We'll keep you guys up to date, but more than likely you could see Arkansas playing 2 games on Friday after a game on Thursday. To Hobbs' point earlier that he mentioned on X, Arkansas could be playing another 3 games within 24 hours this weekend, similar to the Missouri series. So Keep up to date with that. We'll let you know on start times. If they do double header on Friday, we were talking about it. I can probably assume it's going to be either first game will be a 2 or 3 o'clock start, with the second game being like a 6-7 o'clock start afterwards. So
Yeah, especially with a 7 p.m. start time on Thursday
on
night.
Thursday.
So you're probably not looking at the Thursday game being over till 10 o'clock hour, which from my experience, they normally don't discuss this thing until after the first game. But we'll see with it being a late start tomorrow night. We'll see if they make an announcement. But it's normally one of the things where they want to get the first game out of the way and then decide on it.
Yeah, that's going to be key, especially with weather. So keep on lookout with that. We'll keep you guys updated on how that goes as we get ready for the weekend. Arkansas softball had themselves their own midweek this week as they traveled down to Central Arkansas to take on UCA in a game where, again, they continue to take care of business. Won this game 7-0. You had Peyton Burnham get the start here. 6 innings for her, 3 hits on 94 pitches, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk. Lexi King, 1 inning, 1 walk on 20 pitches for her. You look at the offense, Bree Ellis continues to be Bree Ellis, goes 2 of 3 with an RBI, 2 runs scored in this game. Ella McDowell, the star-studded freshman, 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored. And this team continues to find ways to win. They have a non-conference series coming up this weekend against Colorado on doubleheader on Friday. So they're getting 2 games in on Friday with that third game scheduled for Saturday, which, like we said, that'll be interesting to see how that goes with doubleheader on Friday. Things might have to get shaken up there with that first game being at 2:30 and the second game starting at 5 o'clock. Swag EAC says spring game rained out. We talked about that. More than likely that could happen.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
They'll still have it. It'll just most likely be moved indoors.
Yeah, and that's what Hobbs and I talked about on Sunday was they could just more than likely move into their indoor practice facility and still run through it. That would just be unfortunate that not get to attend and get some highlights and see some of that stuff. But big weekend, and you can't forget about Saturday night, Parker's 7:30. We're going to be live at Parker's. Well, the plan was to be after the game on Saturday, but if there's doubleheader on Friday, we'll still be there Saturday. It'll just not be after the game, and we'll still do our Sunday recap on Saturday as the weekend starts early. So don't forget about that. Events listed on Facebook. You can find all that information there. Parker's address off of Weddington. Go check them out. Great food, great atmosphere, great place to hang out. We're going to be there on Saturday, and it's going to be a load of fun, especially with our buddy Hobbs. Going to be here in person with us, heading out in the morning. So it's going to be a fun-filled weekend for Arkansas sports. Make do with the weather. We'll make the best out of it. That's what you get with Arkansas. It's like the old saying goes: if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes and it'll change. So that's what we're in for this weekend. Another rainy spring weather for Arkansas. So you guys got anything else before we get out of here? No, Hobbs, you got to get to bed. So
I know I got a 5 o'clock flight. So that's going to be fun, but I'm looking forward to being there tomorrow night.
No, but I'm good, man. I've got nothing else.
Well, with that, we'll get out of here. We thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Make sure to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts at. Make sure to hit that bell. That way you get notifications anytime we go live. And it's going to be a fun-filled weekend. We'll see, hopefully, as many of you as possible at Parker's on Saturday, live and in person here in Fayetteville. If not, we'll have the link. Tune in just like normal. And until then, everybody have a great Thursday, Friday, and then we'll see you on Saturday. And with that, we can get out of here, and we'll see you when we see you.